Condolences on the death of the Tanzanian president. The Sultan welcomes the Saudi initiative for reaching a political solution to the crisis in Yemen. And a new 836 COVID-19 cases and 4 deaths are registered in the Sultan. Those are the headlines, and now the news in detail. As signed by His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq, His Highness Sheikh Shihab bin Tariq Al Said, Deputy Prime Minister for Defense Affairs, along with His Excellency Said Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, Foreign Minister, and a number of officials offered His Majesty's condolences on the death of the late Tanzanian President, Dr. John Magufuli, at the premises of Embassy of Tanzania this morning. They were received by His Excellency Abdullah Abbas Kilima, Ambassador of the United Republic of Tanzania, a credit to the Sultan, and members of the diplomatic mission. At the end of the performance of the duty of condolence, His Highness Sheikh Shihab bin Tariq Al Said, Deputy Prime Minister for Defense Affairs, wrote down expressions of commiseration in the condolence register. His Highness Said Yazid bin Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth, issued a ministerial decision to form the main committee of higher performance sports. The committee, headed by His Highness, aims to care for excellent athletes as to make them able to carry their future ambitions of the Omani sports and reach a high level of efficiency in global and Olympic levels. The committee will also be tasked with putting up the general policies, programs and plans to develop high-performance sports. The decision of forming this committee comes in line with the goals of Oman Vision 2040 to put the Sultanate within the advanced countries in the field of sports. The Sultan welcomed the initiative announced by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for reaching a political solution to the crisis in the Republic of Yemen. The Sultan will continue to work with the Kingdom, the United Nations and the Yemeni concerned parties with the aim of achieving a desired political settlement that restores security and stability to Yemen, and in a way that preserves security and interests of the countries of the region. The Sultan's government, represented by the Foreign Ministry, has welcomed the announcement in New Delhi that the Gandhi Peace Prize for 2019 has been conferred on the late His Majesty Sultan Qaboos bin Said bin Taimur. May his soul rest in peace. The Sultan expresses his thanks and appreciation to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Chairman of the Prizes Adjudication Committee, and other members of the jury. The Minister said the Indian initiative was in recognition of the late His Majesty Sultan Qaboos' support to peace and settlement of regional disputes and conflicts by peaceful means. He said the initiative also reflects appreciation for the late Sultan's wise leadership of the modern Renaissance march and the role in upgrading the Sultan's relations with countries of the world and with the friendly Republic of India. The ministry reaffirmed the strong ties between the two wise leaderships of His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq and President Ramnath Kovind of India. Providing financial support to entrepreneurs in cooperation with Oman Development Bank was discussed by the Board of Directors of Authority of Small and Medium Enterprises SMEs Development in its meeting today. It also tackled the financing mechanisms that contribute to organizing policies and speeding up procedures related to loans and funding projects with economic feasibility. The board also reviewed an initiative to establish a unified definition that aims to find a unified definition among all parties that are concerned in the Sultanate. It also discussed Small and Medium Enterprises Organization Draft Law and Craft Industries Draft Law. The meeting was chaired by His Excellency Qais bin Mohammed Al Yusuf, Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion. The Minister of Health announced that 836 new cases of COVID-19 have been registered in the Sultanate. bringing the total number to 152,364 cases. The total number of deaths reached to 1,633. The new recovered cases are 404, while the total recovered cases reached 139,846, which is 92% of the total recovery rate. The minister indicated that the total number of the patients reached 364, among which 105 are in the intensive care units. Still to come on News Bulletin. The hiking sports enthusiasts and adventurers require preparations and special equipment to avoid facing any risks. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. Casualties were reported in Baghdad today after a device attached to a motorcycle exploded at a busy junction. The explosion occurred in the capital's Al Jadida area. The security media cell, an official entity that reports to the Prime Minister's office, said the improvised explosive device that was attached to the motorcycle has killed its driver and injured another person who was with him. Police closed off the road leading to the scene of the explosion before opening it again after clearing the site. An increase in attacks was seen last summer as militants took advantage of the government's focus on tackling the coronavirus pandemic and exploited security gaps across disputed territory in northern Iraq. Cities across the UK today paused in remembrance of the victims of COVID-19 1 year on from the country's first lockdown. The date, 126,411 people have died from COVID-19 in the UK since the beginning of the pandemic. Staff from London's Paddington railway station and National Health Service workers in Glasgow also held a moment of silence. Aerial footage showed scenes of an empty London, which is still in the grips of another coronavirus lockdown following a wave of infections over the winter. Heavy rainfall was forecasted to ease across Australia's east coast, but floodwaters could linger for days across New South Wales state, where 15,000 people were nervously waiting today for potential orders to evacuate. Some 18,000 residents of Australia's most populous state have fled their homes since last week, with warnings the cleanup could stretch into April. New South Wales Premier said several weather fronts continued to affect large swaths of state. Some parts of the state had recorded 2/3 of their annual rainfall in less than a week. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said the New South Wales government had already requested 1,000 defence personnel to help clean up after the floods. Within the framework of the curricula of this 8th round, the National Defence College hosted via video conferencing His Excellency Ahmed Abul Ghait, the Secretary General of the Arab League, who delivered a webinar titled Arab League Future and Challenges. He discussed the situation and impact of the current Arab political system on the joint Arab work and the effects of the regional and international events and changes on the march of the Arab League. Abu al-Ghait also talked in his webinar about the obstacles and pillars of the success of Arab joint work and shed light on the role of Arab League on setting disputes and offences among Arab countries. The various geographical attractions of the Sultanate constitutes a source of attraction for many hiking enthusiasts. Yet going on such an adventure requires extensive preparations and special equipment to avoid facing any risk. More details in the following report.
The Sultanate is renowned for its diverse geological attractions, including mountains, valleys, and caves. These fascinating natural treasures captivate adventurers and hikers. Yet, insufficient preparedness and lack of proper equipment may expose the adventurers to danger.
In Oman, there is so many mountains, so everybody like to see these mountains, and some people they like to go and explore it and hike it. I think the most difficult one from these all types, there is 4 types: hiking and canyoning and wadis and climbing, solo climbing mountains. The difficult one is usually caving, because caving you will do everything there. You will hike and you will do abseiling, you will swim, and maybe you will dive also there, and you will climb rocks. So to do the caving you should have good experience and to practice other sports like hiking before doing caving.
The great interest shown in the hobby of hiking and exploring caves requires prior knowledge of the place, fitness, as well as having an emergency plan.
To do this in a safe way, you should know about yourself that you are fit medically, and to be patient to do these routes which you want to do. You don't have to be hurry and finish it in a fast time. Just take your time and enjoy the moments in the mountain. To do it in a safe way also, you better go with one team which already knows about that place, or some local people who knows the place exactly. And you should know about the mountain, the type of the rocks, and weather, and if it is raining or anything. You should have full idea about the place and the time which you are doing. Before doing that, you should inform somebody that you will finish it expecting the time, and if you are too much late from your time, somebody can follow you and knows your location.
The rocky terrains and routes vary from one place to another, whether in their elevation or complexity. Hence, lack of experience and poor planning may turn the adventure into a disaster. Indeed, taking all necessary precautions before setting off on any adventure is highly essential, not only to ensure the safety of all, but also to have the most enjoyable hike. صالح بن خلفان الرحبي، ولاية أوف نزوة الداخلية، Governor.
You're watching the Sultan of Oman television. Before tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Signed by His Majesty the Sultan, His Highness the Deputy Prime Minister for Defense Affairs offers His Majesty's condolences on the death of the Tanzanian President. The Sultan welcomes the Saudi initiative for reaching a political solution to the crisis in Yemen. And a new 836 COVID-19 cases and 4 deaths are registered in the Sultanate. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. We'd like to remind you to keep following the precautionary measures of wearing face masks, washing hands, and keeping physical distance from each other. From all of us here in the newsroom, in the studios, good night.
أمادامو، بسكويت مقرمش من الخارج محشو بالشوكولاتة الغنية. من يدري إلى أين يأخذك أمادامو؟
تفضل يا زوجي العزيز، تفضل.